Social media, positive aspects for teenagers. The first thing that an individual becomes aware of when setting out to research the impact of social media on teenagers is that the general attitude toward the subject is a negative one. On searching the words teenager and social media on the internet, most of the headings that emerge have a negative connotation. Many articles discuss the negative impacts of social media on children and the society in which they live, while others are cases of crimes committed by teens through social media. Several claims support the positive correlation between the two, but some of these show that writers are coming from a background where they had assumed the converse was true. The objective of this paper is to discuss the various arguments that have been propounded on the matter and attempt to persuade the reader that the claim that social media are good for teenagers is not entirely unfounded but could very well be an accurate description of reality. Given the negative sentiment on the topic, the first step of this discussion is to address the concerns and views of those who view social networking as a negative factor and a threat to the social lives of teens and the community. Social media are creating a uniquely shallow and trivial culture, making kids unable to socialize face-to-face. These sentiments have been echoed by millions of parents worldwide who feel that their children risk losing their social skills and capacity for understanding various issues because of social media. Strasburger, a scientific writer, proposes that the current generation is typified by a hedonistic approach to life, disregarding what is assumed to be the real world and becoming centered around a moment of computer-generated thrills. While admitting that the author's concerns cannot be ignored or dismissed, it is worth noting that they are only sinister when examined from a theoretical point of view. In reality, teenagers, despite spending a great deal of time on social networks, do not necessarily lose their social skills. In fact, quite to the contrary, they may improve them. Social networks have emerged as necessary tools for fostering communication in a digital world. They are products of technological innovations in information technology that are combined with the culture of globalization. In fact, predictions show that more benefits will be brought about by the rapid advancements in the field of information technology in the future. Without social networks, the concept of a global village would remain largely a fanciful cliché to those who cannot afford to take a 9-hour flight or make long-distance calls across continents. Through online chat rooms, teenagers can literally engage in discussions with their peers across the globe. Given that this is the world in which teenagers were born, expecting them to socialize like people in the preceding generations is both impractical and retrogressive. O'Keefe and Clark Pearson argue that social media are very useful since they make teenagers express their issues. The authors cite a case where a Christian motivational speaker said in a high school that dateable girls know how to shut up. Teenage girls used social media platforms to castigate overt sexism and air their views on the subject. By so doing, they empowered themselves. A study by Common Sense Media, a child advocacy group, found that 1 out of every 5 teenagers finds that social media platforms make him or her more confident compared with a mere 4% of teens who claimed that they made them feel less social. Additionally, over 1,000 teens were surveyed and 28% of them said that social networks made them feel more outgoing, while others, 29%, claimed that they reduced their shyness. Evidently, social media, contrary to popular belief, does not negatively influence the social skills of teenagers. The fact that they spend time communicating on their cell phones and updating their online accounts does not make them less capable of face-to-face interactions. In the modern era, social networking sites spread information faster than other forms of media and, through them, teens can keep themselves informed about various things happening around the world. In addition, by being fundamentally collective, social networks connect people at various levels and actually boost their interactions. When people criticize social networks, they tend to ask leading questions and make loaded statements. Normally, someone would ask a teenager how many hours he or she spends on social media or how many texts he or she sends in a day. However, a more objective approach would be asking how many people teenagers have communicated with on the internet. Ironically, given the antisocial epithets ascribed to social media among teens, they communicate and interact with more people than many adults who do not use social media. At the end of the day, tweeting teenagers may actually know more about the world they live in than their conservative parents may. Teens have a chance to stay in touch with their friends from as far back as primary school, and they can maintain these ties through social media platforms for the rest of their lives. The same cannot be said for their parents, many of whom have virtually no connections whatsoever with friends with whom they are not in constant touch. In learning institutions, social networks help children improve their grades since they can use social sites, such as Facebook, Twitter, and WhatsApp, to discuss various topics. Some schools, such as George Middle School in Portland, introduced social media programs, and it was noted that grades improved by as much as 50%. Ultimately, social networking sites also help people to improve their relationships and make new friends. Many adults who use social networks have reported that they have improved their interactions with their peers, a trend that has been more than duplicated by teens. In conclusion, it is evident that social media platforms, despite some negative reputations, actually contribute to teens being more social as opposed to making them less sociable. The older generations assume that teenagers waste much time on social media instead of socializing with people face-to-face. The reality is that social networks are the new face-to-face communication approaches for teenagers. The parents of the present elders castigated the radio and boombox, yet they did not negatively affect them. Similarly, social media should also be viewed as a necessary tool and source of inevitable changes that should be embraced rather than fought.